Hey folks, I thought I'd do a really lazy and late night just commentary on the Thousand Suns rules that have all dropped, as well as the points, because the Thousand Suns are my favourite army. I really like them, and I'm actually really happy with how they look in 10th edition. So I thought we'd just go through just a few things. There's been minimal editing because it's late and I just can't be bothered. So the initial rule, of course, is Cabal of Sorcerers, which is the same as in 9th. And it's stripped down, but it's pretty good. I do miss the Cult of Duplicity. I used to use that quite a lot. Although now I think about it, it was more the option of having it that I liked more than I actually used it. Thinking back, if I used it more than once or twice a battle, that would be very unusual. But anyway, so looking at this, the Cabal points are rare and expensive now. They seem to be a lot more numerous in 9th, and looking through the units, it seems that they're a lot more sparing. So to have 9 Cabal points is quite an investment, it seems. But I quite like what we've got here. Weaver of Fates. So you can reroll a saving throw for a for a unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. It seems to be once during that phase a single saving roll. It's only 2 points, so maybe I shouldn't complain. Temporal Surge, so you can make a normal move, which is 5 points. I mean, I suppose if you really need it, that's fair. Echoes from the Warp, which allows you to use a stratagem, or the Psyker can be the target of a stratagem for 0 CP, even if you've used it. That's really good, because we'll get into the stratagems in a minute. Doombolt has had a nice glow up. So on a 1, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, which is not very impressive, but I'm pretty sure, I think it was just 3 anyway, back in 9th. On a 2-5, it's D3 plus 3, which is excellent. Then on a 6, it's D3 plus 6. I mean, it's 7 Cabal points, so that is a lot, but that's pretty good. And there are, especially if you've got ways of casting these without paying the Cabal points. They've got Twist of Fate, which is 9 Cabal points, but it denies an enemy unit within 18 inches armor saves, and it says armor saving throws. So I'm guessing that means invulnerable saves as well, but I mean, I guess maybe it doesn't actually. Maybe it doesn't mean invulnerable, but that's still horrific, right? Like to be denied your armor save for a turn, especially if someone's doing some shenanigans, right? I'm not going to go through the detachment rules and stuff like that, really. I mean, they're useful, obviously. In your command phase, you can select one of the abilities below to take effect until the start of your next command phase, which is psychic weapons equipped by Thousand Suns have the lethal hits ability. Psychic weapons equipped have the sustain hits ability, or psychic weapons equipped have the devastating wounds ability. Now, that's really good, actually, because you have this particular stratagem. There's 1 CP, which you get 1 CP per round now, which I actually prefer this particular way of doing it. Turns all of your Inferno bolt guns, combi bolters, and Inferno combi weapons into psychic weapons with a strength of 5, which is fantastic, obviously. So, you know, all of their guns basically apply with that, and so that's brilliant. You know, okay, the Soul Reaper cannon doesn't, but who cares, right? All of the combi, all of the Inferno bolters are suddenly insanely dangerous, which is really nice. And then you've also got this 1 CP here, Devastating Sorcery. Until the end of each phase, each time a model you make in your unit makes a psychic attack, you can reroll the hit roll and reroll the wound roll, which is just like, okay. So if you have Devastating Wounds, then you put this and this on it, which is not that unusual. Like every other turn, basically, you'll be able to pull off this little combo, which is just rough, to be honest, for the enemy. So I'm just saying that's pretty good. Destined by Fate is particularly good as well. Change the damage characteristic from attack to 0. Pete had something like that for his Master of Possession in 9th, and I tell you what, it's insufferable. Every time it's insufferable. Because it's just like, oh wow, that last cannon hit got through, did it? Yeah, nothing. The Psychic Dominion one is less interesting though. Other psychic attacks, you've got Feel No Pain 4+, I mean, great, but very situational. Sorcerer's Might, add 9 inches to the range of psychic weapons. I actually don't find range improvement very useful. Again, it's too situational, and generally I try to position my things so that the range isn't the problem, right? So I don't see myself using this. And then Warp Sight is, until the end of the phase, each time a friendly Thousand Suns Psyker model makes an attack with a psychic weapon that targets an enemy unit, that attack has indirect fire and ignores cover abilities. I mean, it's good if you need it, but I can't see myself using it that regularly. It'll be these two and Destined by Fate that I'm really going to be using a lot, I think. But, again, what I like about 10th is that this is all easy to remember. Like, you know, these are... What I hated about 9th is, like, look, you have, like, 5 strategies just for vehicles. 5 strategies just for... And it's just like, fucking hell, I can't remember any of this. Right, there's an effect when you go into the supermarket. If you have too many choices, people tend to choose nothing at all. Because, and you would think, okay, just choose the first thing in front of you. No, they choose nothing, actually. And that is precisely what was happening in 9th edition with stratagems. It was just too much, way too much. But this, I can remember, and I can pick one at the appropriate time. So the enhancements, these are the artifacts. And if we look at the points, you can see these are actually really affordable. 15, 20, 25, and 20. Respectively. So these are really affordable, and a lot of these these are just picked up from 9th edition, and a bunch of them have been incorporated into data sheets, which we'll go through in a minute. But these are fine, you know. The bearer the Lord of Forbidden Law, bearer can be selected to use a ritual, even if another psychic from your army was already selected to use that ritual this phase. So if you somehow had enough Cabal points to cast the same thing twice, which strikes me as being more rare than not, then you can use that. The Athenaean Scrolls, you get another Cabal point, so if they're not battle shocked, so that's useful. I will doubtless be paying for that. The Umbral Crystal is the same as before. You can use it once per game to move a unit somewhere else in the battlefield. I'll probably get that too. Arcane Vortex, add 1 to the strength and damage of characteristics of psychic weapons equipped by the bearer, which... maybe if you've got like the points free, but it's just one guy, and so that, and what was this? This was 15 points. Okay, maybe 15 points maybe, but it's not that great. But anyway, so going on to the characters, the models, the units. Ahriman. Now I have a thing where I actually kind of hate using named characters. Right, I kind of hate it. Because, oh, in every battle, look at this, we've got this 500-point battle, and Ahriman has turned up. What? Why? And he'll do, you know, we've got a 1,000-point battle, and Ahriman and Magnus have turned up. Really, what are the fucking odds, right? I hate it. I really hate it. And this is why I just generally don't like using named characters, and I generally don't. But he is amazing. He is absolutely, I mean, he was good before, but, like, this is incredible, right? So... He's perfectly fine with his, you know, the ranged weapons. These are not really what he's good for. Like, the Psychic Stalk is fine, D6 damage, strength 6. It's fine, right? That's not what's impressive. Cabal of Sorcerers 3 is massive, as you'll see as we go through the other ones. But Rubric Lord, while this model is leading a unit, each time that model in a unit makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll. That's incredible. That's really, really good. And then, Arch Sorcerer of Tzeentch, once per battle, you can select this model to use a ritual for 0 Cabal points, and all the other rules still apply. That's incredible as well. Even though it's once a game, okay, but that's still brilliant. He can only lead Rubric Marines, but he's really, really strong, and I will probably have to get Ahriman, even though I didn't really want him, just because he's so strong. He does the same thing on the disc, which is fine. Some of them don't do the same things, which is interesting. The Land Raider, I have my Thousand Suns Land Raider, and I got it because it was kind of kitsch, but now it's fucking awesome. It's really good. 16 wounds, toughness 12, and yeah, it's like Twin Inferno Heavy Bolter with sustained hits and twin linked. Yeah, okay, I'll take it. And then, what's it got? 2 Lascans, I think. Or is it 1 Lascan? It's only got one las cannon. I don't believe that. Yeah, 2 las cannons. That's more like it. Then the twin Inferno heavy bolter. So that's fantastic. So that's 4 las cannon shots, and then 3 of these heavy bolter shots, and it can be equipped with an Inferno combi weapon and combi bolter, or a Havoc launcher, which of course I have on there. So why wouldn't I? And I don't think these cost any extra points either. Like, $1,000. No, it's just one model, 250 points. So, okay, well then just include those. So, I guess I'd probably take the combi bolter just because it's got more shots. So it's rapid 5-4. I know the combi weapon's got anti-infantry 4+, which is critical hit, which is automatic wound on a 4+. And it's got devastating wounds. That is pretty good. That is good, actually. But I'll probably just go for the raw numbers. But either way, that's amazing, right? And of course, it's got this assault ramp. So if if the transport has made its move, the unit is still eligible to declare a charge. Now, that would be great if it wasn't 1,000 Suns, because almost everything they've got is crap in melee. But that doesn't matter, because at least you can move and then disembark your Warp Flamer squad or whatever it is, and then just roast something. So that, because the way the 10th edition movement works, right? So that's fantastic. Really, really good. I don't have a Predator, but I'm sure this is a pretty good loadout. So I'm going to skip those because they're not very interesting to me. I don't have a Rhino, but again, a Rhino is actually useful now. Toughness 9, wounds 10. Like that can actually get the troops to where you want them to go. I might get a Rhino for nostalgia value, because I used to have a Rhino back in the day, obviously. And it's been a while. But the Chaos Spawn are interesting. Only 2 in a squad with the Chaos Spawn. But they're tough as hell. Like toughness 5, 4 wounds, and a 4+ save. They didn't get a save before. I had to bring along my Infernal Master to cast something that gave them a 4+ invulnerable save. But now they've got a 4+ save and a 5+ invulnerable. And they regain D3 lost wounds in the command phase. And they've got Feel No Pain 5+. Like, these things are brilliant now. Like, love it. And look at these hideous mutations as well. So you get somewhere between like 4 and 8 attacks. Strength 5, I mean it's 4+ to hit, which is no difference, but 2 damage each. These are great. I've got 6 of these, so I'll definitely be using these. Can they go in the Land Raider? I suppose they probably can. Does it say? I don't know. I'll have to check. I don't have a Vindicator, so I'll ignore that. I don't have Defiler, although Defilers look great. You know, they look powerful as all hell. But I always thought the Defiler got a kind of short shrift in 9th, because on paper they still look pretty good. But anyway, this is what I find very interesting, is the addition of the characters to the units. Now this is something that used to happen in like 2nd and 3rd, and probably in like 5th and 6th. But the characters didn't really do anything back then. Like you've got an extra morale. You get to use the character's leadership bonus. Yeah, okay, that's not very interesting though, is it? Right. So the Exalted Sorcerer, his stats, nothing particularly interesting. I quite like the Astral Blast, D6 attacks, and of course, you know, he gets the standard like Psyker melee and pistols, right? But this is great. When he's leading a unit, gives him 4+ invulnerable save, and the unit he's leading, you can roll a d6. On a 1, you suffer some mortal wounds, but on a 2 to 5, which is what you're normally going to get, you can return 1 destroyed bodyguard unit model to that unit. On a 6, you can return 2. That's brilliant. That's really, really good. I'll definitely have an Exalted Sorcerer with my Warp Flamers, because they're in close. They tend to get pasted because people hate them because they're really strong. Okay. The Exalted Sorcerer on a disc does something different, which is interesting. He's got Binding Tendrils, which honestly I find less interesting, which is annoying, which means I now have to get a new Exalted Sorcerer, at least 1, probably 2, because I have one on a disc that I kit bash together. But I probably won't be using this so much, because this, like I said, is less interesting to me. You know, making it so that they move slower, half their movement speed and stuff, useful, but I would rather have the regeneration. to be honest, bringing people back from the dead. Don't have a Forge Fiend, although they look good. I do have a Hellbrute, and I like this. Whenever there's a Thousand Sun Psycho model within 9 inches who's selected to use a ritual, you gain 1 Cabal point. And I assume that the mechanic is you select the model to use the ritual, then you choose the ritual that you're going to use, then you use the ritual, right? So if you select it, you get the Cabal point then you've got an extra one for when you actually choose the ritual. I assume it works that way. I don't know. I'm going to see. I'll have to check that. But I mean, obviously the Hellbrute is toughness 9 now, only wounds 8, and he loses the -1 damage reduction, but he's still pretty tough, and I like this Cabal point generating ability. So I will be using this. I'm very happy with it. And generally it's pretty good. My one's got a multi-melter on it, but multi-melters aren't as good as they were. They're only strength 9 now, and Twin-Linked Las Cannon probably would have been better, but at least I get 2 shots, I suppose. What are you going to do? I would like to get a second one and have him with the 2 fists on it, just because I always thought that looked cool. Back when I was like 13 or 14, there was a Blood Angels Dreadnought featured in a White Dwarf that I remember looking at and thinking, oh, that is so cool. And it was this big running Dreadnought with 2 power fists. And at the time, of course, Games Workshop did not sell such a model. Someone had bashed this together out of the lead models. And man, I tell you what, right? I am a big fan of, like, kit bashes, and it used to be really fucking difficult because cutting through lead is not an easy thing when you don't have the correct tools, and I did not have the correct tools. The fact now, in the kit now, you can set up a guy with 2 fists. Now, it comes a part of the kit. But I am tempted to get another one just to have that, because I always just wanted one. I just really like them. Anyway, I don't have a Helldrake. I do have an Infernal Master. The Screamer Invocation that he's got is really good. 2d3 attacks, or as a focused one, which is 2d6 attacks. But this one has got Hazardous on it, so you can hurt yourself. I'll probably use the 2d3. But either way, that's pretty good. And the stats on it are pretty good as well. Good anti-infantry stuff, right? I like the Malefic Maelstrom, right? When this model's leading unit, weapons equipped by the models in that unit have the sustained hits 1 ability. Now, the 3 things you get to choose, sustained hits doesn't stack, which is fine, because I'll just use Devastating Wounds, frankly. Because of the new, like, lethal hits, sustained hits, Devastating Wounds is by far the most impressive to me. Just, if you roll a 6, that's a mortal wound. Okay, brilliant. I'll take it. And Glimpse of Eternity. Once per turn, you can change the result of 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, 1 damage roll, or 1 saving throw made for this model to an unmodified 6. That's pretty good, isn't it? Probably work well with this Hazardous. So, like I said, I haven't tried him yet or anything, but he's only Cabal of Sorcerers 2, and so was the Exalted one, by the way. He's only Cabal of Sorcerers 2. Again, this matters now a lot. And then we come to Magnus the Red. Now, I was not tempted at all by Magnus in 10th edition because his stats were pretty mediocre, frankly, especially for like the points cost as well. But now Magnus has a sweep and strike. He has got incredible stats: toughness 11, wounds 16, movement of 14, which is great. Obviously a 2+ save, and the Gaze of Magnus is good. Zensh's Firestorm is good. And he's got like lots of special abilities. He gets one of these unearthly powers. So you can, at the beginning of your start of the round, you can choose one of these just to be active for this round. Subtract 1 from the damage of attacks, which actually I have to say I've never found to be all that useful. There have been plenty of units that I've had with this on, and maybe it's just because of the dangerousness of weapons in 9th edition, but I've never found that actually that useful. Treason of Zench, which is at the start of your opponent's shooting phase, you can select one of their enemies within one of their units within 24 inches, and those weapons get the Hazardous ability, which is not bad. Or Time Flux, which is a friendly unit within 6 inches, give them 2 to their move. I mean, it's okay. It's pretty underwhelming though. But This is what's the good thing about him. Lord of the Planet of the Sorcerers. While a friendly Thousand Sun Psyche unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time a model in that unit makes a psychic attack, add 1 to the hit roll, 1 to the wound roll. Well, going back to the command point at the beginning, the stratagem at the beginning for 1 command point, making all of the weapons that you get psychic. I mean, I suppose, while a friendly Thousand Sun Psyche unit. So, I mean, I suppose that only counts for particular things that are psychers. But either way, that's still good. And he is, overall, really decent. Cabal of Sorcerers 4, and he can Deep Strike, which is very nice. So, like it. Like it a lot. Works well. I haven't got a Mauler Fiend, so I'll skip over that. Man, this is one of the big winners, in my opinion, is the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Now, I got this just because it looks cool. It's crazy. It's this giant, weird tentacle monster with a big magic thing on its back. How cool is this? Well, now, finally, it's actually got the stats that it deserves. Toughness 10, 13 wounds. Love it, right? Invulnerable save, finally. But the Warp Blast, the Warp Vortex, is fantastic, right? As you can see, you've got the Torrent version, which is 12 inches, 2d6, strength 6, AP -1, damage 1. So it's for just for little things. The beam, though, the beam and the blast are the very interesting ones. So this is just one attack, strength 18, -4 AP, d6, plus 6 damage, 3+ to hit as well, right? The Mauler Fiend did not. The Mutalith Vortex Beast had like an array of really crappy shooting attacks that were like pseudo psychic powers. This is amazing, right? And then the blast itself, A, it's got blast, which is good. B, it's d6 plus 3 attacks, 3+, strength 9, AP -2, damage 2. That's going to kill a lot of Space Marines, right? And then you've got a bunch of other abilities. You've got Feel No Pain 5+, which is great. At the end of your movement phase, roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this model. On a 2 to 3, they suffer 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 5, d3 mortal wounds. And on a 6, d6 mortal wounds. Then they must take a battle shock test, which I've heard from people. I haven't had time to play a game of 10th yet, but next week we're going to have a game. But I've heard the battle shock is actually not that bad, so that's interesting. And then Immaterial Flare. When a friendly Thousand Sun Psyker is within 6 inches of the model, each time they use a ritual, you can double that range when resolving the ritual. That's fine. That's pretty good. There's nothing wrong with any of that at all. So this is amazing. The Mutalith Vortex Beast, especially as he's only 145 points, which is what he was before. And honestly, before he was kind of crap. So I liked him anyway. But look at this, right? The Botentical Maw and Mutalith Claws. I think you used both of these, so he's now got 20 attacks. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, right? But I mean, okay, strength 7, AP 0, but you've got 15 fucking attacks, and then you've got 5 attacks, strength 9, AP -2, damage 4. I'm pretty sure you can use both of those. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. If you can only choose one or the other, let me know. But either way, it's nice to have those options. They're still great options. They're really good. So, big winner there. Happy with that. The Rubric Marines came through the change to 10th, in my opinion, relatively unscathed. And getting an invulnerable save of 5+ is nice. They lost the All Is Dust ability, which I really liked, which was a weapon with a damage of 1 hitting them. They got a +1 to their save, so they had 2+ save, which was amazing, obviously. They've only got Cabal of Sorcerers 1 for the Aspiring Sorcerer, which is fine. The Icon of Flame now does something else. Doesn't give them... I'm pretty sure it gave a Cabal point previously, which I liked. But now it's each time a model in the Bearer's unit makes a ranged attack, if critical wound is scored, improve the AP of that characteristic by 1, which is fine, because they've lost a point of AP on the Inferno Bolt Gun. It used to be -2, which was amazing. But now it's just a flat 2 attacks. Doesn't have rapid fire, but it's a flat 2 attacks, which actually I prefer. And with the Doctrine, or whatever they were at the beginning, again, 2 attacks, devastating wounds. I tend to take 10 of these guys in a squad. I like my big fat Rubric Marine squads. So that's basically 20 shots. A bunch of those are going to be 6s. That's a bunch of mortal wounds I don't even need to worry about. That's amazing. The Soul Reaper Cannon, it's gone up from 5 attacks to 6. It's gone down from AP -3 to AP -1. Fine, I'll accept it. It's still got devastating wounds though, so it's still good. No problem there. The Warp Flamer is basically the same, although, like I said, the AP has gone down, but it's still a great weapon. Ignores cover, torrent. What's not to love about it? Obviously, they're terrible in close combat. We've got 2 attacks, blah blah blah. But they're perfectly good, and I'm happy with them, especially in the current frame of 10th edition. So I'm happy with that. The Scarab Occults are interesting, and are basically, again, they're basically the same. They're just, they get the standard Terminator loadout of 10th edition, so toughness 5. The 3 attacks of the Khopesh, it's okay. It's -2 rather than -3, but okay, fair enough. All the APs have been reduced. The Warp Smite is nice. Did this guy get Warp Smite? Yeah, he did. Right, so yeah, Warp Smite is pretty good, actually. I don't want to underrate that. The Hellfire Missile Rack has been pumped up a bit, so that's good. Overall, just really good. Happy with them. And I like, of course, the Command Sorcerer 1 and the Deep Strike. But Implacable Guardians, while this contains one or more Psycho models, each time an attack is made against this unit, the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the unit's toughness characteristic. Subtract 1 from the wound roll. So that's great, right? I mean, most of the time, that means that if they're being hit with... if they're being hit with strength, basically most of the time, the wound the Terminators is going to be 4+ at best. If not being worse, because they're toughness 5. So it'll be strength 4 things, it'll be 5+, obviously, and strength 5 things, 4+, and then strength 6 things, 4+. And so up to strength 9 things, 4+. But even then, strength 10 things will be 3+. So, and that's as good as it gets. So that's really good. They've got 4+ invulnerable save now, which is fantastic. Obviously the 2+ save. So the Scarab Occult Terminators, beautiful, love them. Got my big block of 10, going to use them. Happy with these, very happy with these. And the Inferno Combi Bolter, they've got 2 shots and Rapid Fire 2, which is good. So they used to get just flat 4 shots, so now they're down to 2 shots. But if you're going to deep strike them in, you're going to be within 12 inches range, so they're still basically going to be the 4 shots. So yeah, generally happy with that, especially with the devastating wounds thing that I'm definitely going to be using every turn. So that's going to be harsh, basically. So now we come to the Thousand Suns Sorcerer, which I'm happy with, actually. I didn't think I would be, because he gets Empiric Guidance. Again, he's only Cabal of Sorcerers 1, so but when he's leading a unit, weapons equipped by that unit get the Lethal Hits ability. I suppose if I'm constantly in like the devastating wounds thing, it's not that impressive, but there may be reasons not to have that, who knows. But also, the unit he's leading can't be attacked by an enemy unit that isn't within 18 inches, which is good. You can't argue with that. But I like the fact that the one in Terminator Armor just has a different ability. Now, he's got the Empiric Guidance that gives him the Lethal Hits ability, which I have a Thousand Suns Sorcerer in Terminator Armor, but I will be putting my Terminators. So, okay, good, that's fine. Where is he? But it's the Marked by Fate. In your shooting phase, you can select one enemy unit within 18 inches invisible. Until the end of this turn, each time a model makes an attack at the unit, reroll hit for 1. So that's fantastic. That's genuinely a brilliant ability, especially if you've got, 40 shots with your Inferno Bolters, and they've got devastating wounds. So you're probably going to get 6 or 7, maybe more, just mortal wounds on an enemy unit. From that is just fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So I'm very happy with that. I've got a squad of cultists, and I like that when they destroy an enemy unit on a 2+, you gain 1 CP, and when they die on a 2+, you gain 1 CP, because these for me are just generally like Suicide Squad, right? Like, go and hold this thing until the enemy kills you off of it. Well, boom, I'll take a command point, because goddamn, you're going to need them, right? So actually they're useful for command point farming. So I have a Demon Prince, but he has wings, so this isn't the one I'll be using. But the abilities on him are great, right? I love the Glamour of Zench. If there's a 1,000 Suns unit within 6 inches, models in that unit have the stealth ability. Well, I looked that up. Then they get -1 to all ranged attacks against them, which is brilliant, actually. And then he's got the Weave of Fate, which is once per battle at the start of any phase, select a Rubric Marine or Scarab Occult Terminators within 6 inches. They get the Precision ability, so you can assassinate enemy characters. That's very good. But I have the one with wings, and you'll notice that he loses a point of toughness. But toughness 9, 10 wounds is pretty good. I like the fact that he's got the strike and the sweep, and 14 or 6 attacks. And see, this has got the pips next to it. The Mutalith Vortex Beast didn't have them, so I'm guessing that the Mutalith Vortex Beast can do both. Strength 8 or Strength 6, -2 AP, 3 damage, or just 1 if you've got a squad you want to sweep, which is perfectly good. Very happy with that. He's got an Infernal Cannon now, which is interesting. What's really interesting, he doesn't have a psychic attack, which is weird. Does the other one? No, he doesn't have a psychic attack either. You would think that the Demon Prince of Zench would be a Psyker, and where's my Psyker Hellbrute, right? But anyway, never mind. He's got Cabal of Sorceress 2, Sorceress Fire, so every time you make him a normal move, and this is interesting, you can select an enemy unit you moved over and roll 9d6. For each 6, they suffer a mortal wound, as if you're like, dropping fire on them as you go over, which is really good. That's a really decent thing. And then Etherstride is a weird thing to give something with wings, because again, this is a Warlord ability from the previous one. But at the end of your opponent's turn, if the model is not in the engagement range of any enemy units, you can remove it from the battlefield, then set it up in your next movement phase, anywhere that's 9 inches away from enemy models, blah, blah, blah. That's weird. Like, I've got a move of 11. I don't really need that. It would have been nice to have had something else for my Demon Prince with wings. I don't know, just something else than that, because I've got the mobility that I wanted already. So, what are you going to do? Zench's Firestorm would have been perfectly good. That's what I normally put on my Demon Prince. But it's just weird how he doesn't have... he's got the melee weapon as a psychic weapon, but he doesn't have any psychic power to blast people with. But invulnerable for, say, 4+, perfectly good. Very happy with it overall, generally. He's going to be a terror. The Zangor actually have gotten better. The Divining Spear is really good. The Lance ability, I can't remember what Lance does, but I did look it up. What does it do? Whenever they make a charge, add 1 to the attack's wound roll, which is good, to be honest. Especially, and so on strength 5 too, so they're going to be wounding most things on 3, which is great. AP -2, really good. For Zangor alone, let's see how much they cost. 45 points, and I think the normal Zangor have them as well, and they're only 65 for 10 models, which is just great. They fake cast the Great Bow as well. That's amazing as well. Yeah, lethal hits and precision. Which, again, it's only 4+ to hit, but, these things are not expensive. 130 points for 20 of them. 20 of these things, so 10 of them are going to hit at some character if you want. So that's just remarkably good. What do they come with? They come with the Divining Spear, and they can exchange it for the Great Bow. Right, okay, that makes sense. But these are genuinely not bad, like, chaff units now. And that was one of the things as well. Like, I haven't got any Zangor. But, like, the 1,000 Suns did genuinely have a problem with chaff units. The Shaman gets Dark Blessing, which is gives it a Feel No Pain ability, which is great, 5+. And he gets, whenever the unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. That's great, actually. And the thing is, right, this is another thing as well. So prior to this, you were only allowed to have as many cultists as... you had 1,000 Suns units. You couldn't make like cultist armies or Zangor armies really, and so now actually it could be quite fun to make a Zangor army. Like, you'd be deliberately leaving out a lot of the cool stuff, but it could just, it's like a fun... I love gimmick armies like that, right? And actually a Zangor army could be quite good. You'd have horrific casualty figures, but they've got some good stuff. even the Zangors have been improved, right? So that's good. And it's interesting how they can give you Cabal points as well if you're within the objectives. So that's all round really good, and I'm really happy with it. And looking at the points, like Ahriman, 110 points. Yeah, okay. Exalted Sorcerer, 90 points. I mean, the Rubric Marines, 190 points. So 280 points for Rubric Marines and Exalted Sorcerer. That's great. That's really good. 4+ invulnerable saves, extra psychic attacks, blah blah blah, and resurrection. Like that's totally worth it. That's the Rubric Marines are going to be. They were tough enough as it was, right? So that's going to be great. The Scarab Occults, again, 10 models, 410. That's the same as before, if I recall correctly. Where's the Sorcerer and Terminator Armor? 105 points. That's pretty good. So 515. That's not bad at all. I'll take it. The Land Raiders, 250. Like I said earlier, the Mutalith Vortex Beast, 145. That's really good. The Demon Prince with Wings, 190. It's about what it was before. I think it was a little bit less, but that's fine because he's been pumped up. Cultist, 65, 10. People have been complaining that this is basically the power levels for things, and that is correct. It is basically the power levels. The Hellbrute is 145 points, and that's a lot more. It was about 110 or something prior. Did the Hellbrute lose its Inferno Bolters? No, I went past it. Right, no, it does have Inferno Combi Bolter on the fist. Right, okay, that's good. Yeah, each Hellbrute fist can have the Inferno Combi. That's fine. Right, okay. Yeah, because the one with the 2 fists will have 2 Inferno Combi Bolters. So it can have up to 8 shots, which is not bad, for something that just has, the 2 power fists. But anyway, so the prices for everything are actually all really reasonable, as well as the entire faction, frankly, becoming stronger, relatively speaking, I think, to the other factions. Now, like I said, I'm saying this before I've played a game of this, but just looking at what we had previously to what we have now, I feel that the Thousand Sons have really survived the change. I mean, I'm not a Death Guard player, but man, I can feel the pain Death Guard players are going through right now. To lose Feel No Pain and a bunch of other things. I can totally understand why Death Guard players are feeling quite bitter. And there are a bunch of other factions that don't seem that great just from having a cursory look. But Thousand Sons don't appear to be one of them. So all I'm saying is I'm actually really happy with this, and it's actually encouraged me to get some extra Thousand Sons stuff that I wasn't going to do. I was quite happy with the army list I had, and I wasn't going to change it. But now, of course, this is all out. I need some extra stuff, so that's what I'll be doing.